So a preview of what you're going to write on The Athletic. This quarterback prospect is the most polarizing for scouts to identify as a professional at the next level?
To see where they think he goes. Some people think he is a top, could be a first-round quarterback. Some people think he may not get drafted.
What? May not get drafted?
And
his name is?
His name is Michael Penix Jr.
He may not get drafted in some scouts' minds?
The concern for some people is going to come back to the medical piece because he did have 4 season-ending injuries. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, that's going to be what the doctors say them. But then there's other parts of this where people are like, I don't think we have a 3rd round grade on him based on some of what they look. And this guy, if you watch the Texas game in the semifinal, was spectacular. I mean, he puts up big stats, but it's not like he's dinking and dunking to big stats and letting the receivers and running backs run for tons of yards. I mean, he's taking shots down the field, throws into tight windows.
And not just that, Bruce. I'm watching the national championship game. Michigan hardly could lay a finger on him sometimes because he was so quick to get rid of it. And also I mentioned this before, so it's not name dropping, even though it sounds it. Marshall Faulk was watching the game, at our house, and he was marveling at his pre-snap identification abilities, just his neck up ability. And Marshall is the smartest football player I've ever been around. So if he's praising that part of his game, the brain part of his game, the identification pre-snap, then this guy is an all-timer when it comes to that.
That's a hell of a statement for Marshall Faulk, because I know you've been around a lot of
You should speak to him. I'll hook you up with him. I mean, if you need that help. I mean, honestly, he was talking about how Penix was clearly pre-snap seeing it really well. And how he could see, and Michigan has got like a pro-type
that's
defense.
The thing. That was one of the people I talked to said Michigan is as close to an NFL defense as he saw, and he said whereas Texas was much more vanilla for what he was seeing, Michigan gave him more challenges to sort it out and figure and feel comfortable where he's going with the ball and everything like that. The part of the story for me is I think, and I talked to both Bucky and DJ for this story too, and they're great resources, obviously, for stuff like this. But it is the part about where I am a big Penix believer. What you said is definitely true. I think because there's tighter windows in the NFL. I go back to something back when Mike Evans and Johnny Manziel were down training in San Diego. Cam Cameron came out one day to help George Whitfield and Kevin O'Connell there. And I remembered Cam Cameron was talked about NFL Open compared to College Open. Yeah. And he's right in front of me. And I knew Cam a little before that, but I was like, oh, it's Crest. I can tell the toothpaste because he was that close.
Sounds like Hoosiers. It's Dentine.
He was like, right. This is NFL Open, and he started, he was really fun to talk to about that because he had at one point Anquan Bolden, but in college he had Jarvis Landry, and he was like, these are guys who are essentially almost power forwards, how they can operate in this tight space.
Sure. Rome Odunze might not be too far off.
No, and he had 3 elite college receivers, right? But Rome Odunze is probably a top 10, top 5 kind of player, but he trusted them, and he did a lot of, he made a lot of big plays with them because he gave them chances. But also, I thought the biggest thing that I really like about him is he has faced real adversity in his career and his life and came out the other side and thrived from it. And the thing you wonder about with a lot of quarterbacks who come into the NFL at a college is how much adversity have they really faced and what happened when they faced it. Whereas this guy, he's been very, when we talked in the off season, he was very candid about it. Surprised me how candid he was about some of the adversity he had been dealing with or had dealt with and came through the other side. And I think there is something to really be said for the guys who have dealt with it and come through it, how they've come through it, and I think there's certain kinds of adversity. Like when I watch Lamar Jackson, the thing, there's so much stuff you can get awed by, but there is something to be said for the guy who, I remember the Bill Polian quote about, like...
He's still saying that stuff.
And you're like, man, this guy is the franchise, right? And no knock, I mean, like Zay Flowers been, like there's been good pieces around him, right? But you look at him like, holy cow. I feel like for a long time he was like underrated because of what he does. But you're also seeing a guy who has been doubted a lot, even before when he got to Louisville there.
Right. And even look at him now. By the way, our radio audience is about to go away. Check out Bruce Feldman's article in the Athletic about this on Thursday. Still here, so finish your sentence.
Yeah, I just think that there's something to be said for these guys who have come through the other side, and then it really does become the strength. It's like the weakness that turns into a strength.
No doubt. I mean, that's what football's about at any level, right? Is that adversity is going to hit.
Like Goff was a 1-win quarterback when he was at Cal at first, right?
Goodness.
And
now look at him.
No, but then obviously you saw how that was probably a gut punch. He loved it being out here, and then he gets traded away, and then the other team wins the Super Bowl without me. And now you watch, like, I'm a Lions fan because of Goff. I can say this because I don't cover the NFL like that, but like I definitely root for them in part because of him. But you see the parts of like how they push through and a lot of times people will manufacture that it's us against I'm not saying that was a Michigan thing, like that.
I know. Yeah.
But I think there's something to be said for the ones, because a lot of times guys don't. And there was some quarterbacks I've talked to who said, when I got injured and I had this and I didn't know how to deal with it.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.